All right, so yeah, welcome to our first episode here of CritterSnap, and we will be talking about anything that has to do with nature photography, videography, especially how it intersects with animal science, because that's our job, and we'll cover mainly new gear, technology, photography techniques, video techniques, macro, especially. Documentaries and so on. And we are a group of researchers, of biologists, and who all met while doing postdocs at Cornell University. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and have Alberto here start saying a few words on what he's doing.
All right. So, yep, my name is Alberto Lopez, and I'm originally from Puerto Rico. And I ended up here at Ithaca. My wife, she's doing her PhD here at Cornell, and I also do research myself. I work a lot with amphibians mainly, and that's where I met these guys at Cornell. It was pretty cool, and we just started geeking out about photography. And I'm mostly because of the research I do, which has to do a lot with frogs. I mostly take pictures of amphibians and reptiles. But I'm also into bird photography. I do a lot of bird photography. That's like part of my hobby, while the frogs and reptile pictures are more part of my work. So, how about who's next?
Hi, so my name is David Duno. I'm French. I did my PhD in Basel in Switzerland, and then I came also in Cornell for doing my postdoc, where I study the evolution of diseases using arthropods in general, and more recently Drosophila melanogaster. So as all the guys here have been into photography since a little while now, I think 4 or 5 years, and I'm into mostly macro photography, mostly in this field for insect or arthropods in general, and I like also doing sometimes bird photography, even though it's more Alberto teaching me, and landscape photography from time to time. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Hey, my name is Sören Franzenburg. I'm from Germany, and I did my PhD in Kiel. I'm more a molecular biologist working with some symbiosis. So my photography does not really interconnect with my work, because I do mainly macro photography of insects, as you can see on my website, which I pop up here. Hope you guys can see it now. So dragonflies, butterflies, and also amphibia, reptilia.
He's got it all.
You can check that out if you want.
You have a version in German and a version in English, right?
Yeah, so the gallery is without language, but my blog posts are written in German and in English.
Yes,
yeah, I met these guys at Cornell last year, and yeah, I'm now back to Germany, so we are a global international group. Danielle, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm also German, but I live in the United States, in Pittsburgh now, after also meeting those guys at Cornell. And I work with jumping spiders, and since I did my PhD in Australia, those, like, especially with their visual systems, so I do both animal behavior and physiology, and it is a part of my job to image them. They're really small animals, so I have to be creative with cameras for taking videos of them with high-speed video and so on, and filming them from multiple axes. So it's really kind of it's like my work has informed my hobby of photography and the other way around, because if you do vision science, you're going to learn a lot about optics by necessity, so which is going to help you understand cameras a bit better. So, and but yeah, I think we're all, like, none of us are pro photographers. We're all enthusiasts, but we use photography in some way or another with our work. So we all have that shared interest, and yeah, and we all have a gas problem. I guess so. You're gonna hear that term a lot here. Gas, short for gear acquisition syndrome. So we're always looking for
Yeah,
new
some
lenses.
of us more than other ones,
Some
like
of us
French.
more than other ones. Definitely. So yeah, so Alberto here has like a really nice new lens that he showed us some pretty cool bird photos of. And that's the new the Canon 400, right?
Yeah, this lens is just got released. It's the Canon 100 to 400, 4.5 to 5.6 version 2, Mark II. And it's actually it's turning to be a quite popular lens. It's only been released like less than a month, or about a month, I'd say, and they just sell out super fast. And I guess the gas conquered with me, and I decided to buy this lens.
Well, show it, please.
Yes, I will show it.
How much?
Microphone. Here
If
we
you
go.
don't mind me asking, how much does that one set you back?
Ouch! I don't want to remember these things, Daniel. So I try to erase these things from my memory. It's $2,200.
Right.
It's definitely the most expensive lens I bought. The one I had before, which was also the most expensive lens I had, was the prime lens, the 400 millimeter 5.6.
Yeah. So what's special about this new one now?
Well, so I decided to buy this one and sell my old 400 millimeter prime lens because this one has many more features that I feel that are very helpful in the field. And it's smaller, it's more compact. It has image stabilizer. It's weather sealed. The other one wasn't weather sealed. And I mean, it's a sharp lens. It's a sharp lens. It focuses fast. The version 1 of this lens, I mean, I could go back when I made the decision to buy, because some of you might be asking, well, why didn't you buy the first version of this lens, and why did you buy this one, which is the, let's see if you guys can see it.
Mm-hmm.
The 400 Prime. So at that time, there was only the first version. I decided to buy this one because it was well known, I guess, around the blogosphere, around the internet, that this lens, being a prime, of course, you would expect that it is really, really sharp. And then it was really, really sharp compared to the 100 to 400 prime lens. And I decided, well, I guess I'm going to buy the sharpest lens, and I decided to go with this one. It was also cheaper, so that also helped me make my decision.
Can you show them side by side to compare the size?
Here we go.
That would be good.
Hopefully I won't drop them.
Yeah.
No, please.
Especially, this one.
Maybe you want to take a bit of, go a bit
back.
The back, yeah. All right, that's good.
There we
perfect.
Go. Okay, so this is the 400 prime, and this is the 100 to 400. So you could see lengthwise, the prime, it's definitely longer. It is thinner, okay, and the 100 to 400 is a little bit heavier than the prime, but it is much more compact, which in the end, having a more compact lens, in my case, was better because the lens is so much easier to just carry in more variety of bags. When you have gear acquisition syndrome, you see yourself having lots of bags too, not only lenses and cameras.
Yeah.
So this lens, the combination.
We all know that, I guess.
Yeah, I will not put you guys on the spot and ask you how many camera bags you have. We'll save that for another day.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
but yeah, so the combination of this lens, like I could have the camera on the lens and it fits in all my packs. While the other one, I would have to disconnect it, take the body off the lens, and
so
for exception of course, I had one big bag. What's that?
So what body are you using this on?
I'm using it right now on a Canon 7D. I say right now because maybe I'll buy something new. I don't know. Hopefully not anytime soon. Yeah, so I'm using it on a Canon 7D, which I've had, I don't know, for at least 2 years, I think. And And you know the combination of the 400 prime and the Canon 7D, which it's a great combination. I mean, that prime lens, it's definitely, if you have a really tight budget, I would recommend it. It's a great lens. It's a sharp lens. It focuses fast, but it has its limitations. So now with the release of this new lens, I guess the word out there when I decided to buy this lens is that the new zoom lens, the Mark II, is at least as sharp as the prime lens, which is quite impressive, being a zoom
Yeah,
lens.
that's really unusual.
It is very unusual.
So,
Usually that's been reserved for like super expensive lenses like the 70-200, which actually costs about the same that this one does.
so
2.8.
what do your other guys use for like long range shooting? Because I don't really do that all that much. So my like long zoom lens is relatively low budget.
Well,
Right.
if I had all the money in the world, I mean, pro wildlife photographers that specialize in birds, they probably carry a 600 millimeter f4 lens, and that lens costs as much as a car, basically. I mean, it's upwards of
But it's also a
1100.
choice of photography, right? Because you would give it to me. Okay, you would give it to me, I would take it, obviously. But I would probably don't get very often out with it. Because that's a beast. That's really, it's not something you can carry and just go like this in the wild, except if you do bodybuilding or anything. So, I mean, there is a guy out there that's, I don't remember his name, that he takes this camera on the back and just go all around Brazil or Costa Rica, and fine, he's 3 times like me, but otherwise it's really also a choice of the type of photography you can do, right?
Yeah. So what are you using, David?
I actually have the 400. That's actually the camera that Alberto just showed you is mine. He borrowed it to make the comparison. The lens.
So you have the prime, okay.
Yeah, this is David's lens. I already sold mine.
And I think I'm actually going to sold this one as well to get the one of Alberto, because
of course,
it's we saw the difference, and just the fact that you can have the stabilizer on it is just a huge improvement.
Yeah, the image stabilizer is impressive. Like on paper, it said that it's a 4-stop image stabilizer. I agree. I mean, you can definitely go way down. You could take pictures that you could never take handheld with the prime lens, which is really impressive.
I mean, in Puerto Rico, you took a couple of pictures with this lens. I mean, it's a 400. One picture was at 130, something like that. Do you remember?
Do you have some good pictures to show, Alberto?
Yeah, I have. Let me share my screen here. We actually, David, of course, was curious. He wanted to compare his lens with my lens. So we swapped lenses.
Oh, nice.
Are you guys seeing this?
Nice comparison, yeah.
So I'm not going to say which one is which. I'll let you guys kind of guess that.
Can you blow it up?
Zoom in somehow? I don't know if you
I'm going to zoom in. So one is from here. Really, I mean, of course, this is like without any crop. You don't notice much differences. And then let's see if I could zoom if this works. Guys, getting that?
They weren't exactly the same length, right?
No. So yeah,
it's not a perfect comparison, actually.
It's not really a great comparison because. So the 100 to 400 was on a 5D Mark III, and it had an extender on it.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's one difference. And then the 400 prime was on the 7D. Right, so this isn't really a great comparison. I wouldn't say that this is like the ultimate test. I mean, this is just...
For me, the left image looks a bit better, a bit sharper.
Yeah,
and it's impossible to say in like video resolution, but
right.
I think that at the end of the day, when we had the finished product, is what we wanted to see, is that even if you don't have the stabilizer, if you have a tripod, and even if you don't have a 5D Canon 5D Mark III, you can still have results that are really close to each other when you look at the final product. So it's also a way to say that you don't necessarily need this new lens. You don't necessarily need the the 5D Mark III to get equal comparison in good conditions.
Well, but if you can get the same results with a zoom lens as with a prime lens, then the zoom lens is the better deal because you're more flexible.
Exactly. And that
Especially
thing
when you're traipsing around in the jungle and it's all wet and you want to have that weather sealing.
Yeah. Well, and
Well,
in the
it's
end,
just-
that's why I think David is gonna sell his 400 Prime too, because I mean, we had lots of cases where we were
Yeah.
in the field, and one great advantage, I mean, I think this is one of the most important advantages. Image stabilizer is definitely one, but the focusing distance of the lens is just impressive. Like the 100 to 400 Prime has a very close focusing distance compared to the 400 Prime. It is like, I don't remember right now, but it's a huge difference. Like you could, I'm not going to say that the 100 to 400 Prime is a macro lens, but it's the perfect. It's a perfect lens to take pictures of butterflies, for example.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Well-
our resident butterfly expert here is CERN, I think. At least in sheer number of butterflies photographed.
Well, yeah, maybe. So speaking of gear and size, I use Micro Four Thirds system from Olympus. So my camera is an EM5, and my main macro lens is a like 30-year-old Olympus OM 90mm f2 macro lens, which is a real gem. Well, you can only get it on eBay for shitloads of money, but it's definitely worth it. So I hope maybe in the future Olympus will come up with a new macro lens, which is a bit longer than their 60mm macro, and a tripod collar would also be super nice.
Yeah. So what do you use at the moment for long distance, like bird
For long
photography
distance,
and stuff?
I own the Panasonic 100 to 300mm lens, which is good. It's a bit slow, so especially in unity with the continuous autofocus performance of mirrorless cameras, or at least of the OMD. Birds in flight are basically not doable with this combination, but for still images, basically, it's not bad. We will see what the new 300mm prime from Olympus brings, and especially how expensive it will be. And this is certainly something to consider, because it has a tripod mount itself, and for me that's a huge plus, because if you have the 100 to 300 set to 300, it's very shaky, even on a tripod. Because
and it always
so
just
long.
feels a little wrong when you have one of these small Micro Four Thirds bodies with
Right.
huge lens on it. Yeah, with the slightly bigger one, so I'm using the Panasonic GH4 right now as my main weapon of choice, and that is relatively beefy for a Micro Four Thirds camera, so it does still have a grip, so it doesn't feel as
Right. When I go birding, I attach the spare grip to the EM5 because you need some more weight in your hand. It's also more stable for shooting then.
Would you say that for bird in flight, the limitation is the lens or is the camera?
I think it's a combination, or maybe in combination with my skills for bird photography. But
do you know other people out there that takes bird in flight with Micro Four Thirds?
No, not really.
there were some, I can't remember his name, like when the GH4 came out, they made a big deal about bird photography because it had, like, at that point, the best continuous autofocus performance and the fastest shooting rate of any of these cameras.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. But he was shooting from a blind. It wasn't birds in flight.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of easy to do. I think that's doable with a Micro Four Thirds body and lens. But birds in flight, I think that's right now. I guess one of the big leaps that Micro Four Thirds format, I guess, cameras have not yet taken. They're trying to get there. The
I don't know, I've
EM1.
seen, like, I'm seeing more and more, like, side-by-side comparisons now where they do, like, autofocus, like fastness of autofocus for moving targets, and they're really, like, basically neck and neck at this point almost, except for, like, some really like cameras that are
Yeah, it
in
also
a much,
depends
much
on the
higher
lens.
price range.
The 100, 300 Panasonic is not the fastest. It's not
Yeah.
super slow, but it's average.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a
think
great
that's like
lens. I mean,
one of the gaps in the Micro Four Thirds lineup right now are these kinds of long
yeah.
lenses.
Well, Olympus released the 40 to 150 2.8 lens
Right.
that has gotten amazing reviews, which I almost bought. I have to say. I mean, so I have in my possession an OMD EM5, which I bought as a birthday present for my wife.
Mhm.
But I end up using it a lot, and
As
because
these things
it's a
And
happen.
really
even
great
buy
camera.
now you're gonna buy lenses for your wife.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
bought one. I bought the 60 millimeter 2.8 lens, Olympus lens, macro lens, which is great. I have to say, I mean, I really do enjoy shooting Micro Four Thirds, and what I did on um, my last trip, which was to Puerto Rico, which David also was there. He could talk. We could talk about that. I carried the DSLR with the telephoto lens on, and then I had as a second body the OMD with the macro lens, and it was awesome. You know,
Yeah,
not having to
I'm
change
loving that
lenses.
lens. I'm using that for my work right now, and it's just fantastic.
Which
Yeah,
one, Daniel?
The
The
Olympus 60
Oh,
millimeter
you got that
2.8
too.
macro.
Well, I
Yeah,
have that too, so but I barely use it because I stick to my 90 millimeter macro.
I know you have your artifact right there.
Well,
Um,
well,
it's like a
a macro
religion.
lens for me, a macro lens
the
needs
Holy
a
Grail.
tripod mount.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
has a tripod mount, and that's really important
yeah.
for me.
Well, it's I do like the like legacy manual focus, like really nicely manual focus
Mm,
macro lenses a lot, and that is actually one thing I don't like about that Olympus macro is that it has a focus by wire
right.
ring. But for the kind of stuff that I mostly do with it, I'm just focusing to 1 to 1, so the closest distance anyway, and then I move the camera. I never focus with
Mm,
the ring. Um, so it works. It's just really sharp and it's tiny and doesn't get in the way of the massive lighting rig that I have,
hmm
and doesn't cast a shadow like bigger lenses would do.
Right.
So
This is in studio, right?
it is, but
Mm,
it's also weather sealed, which is gonna be nice for when I go to the
yeah.
desert in May.
Yeah, that's something that's really, I mean, I go with my stuff into the field, and being a Canon shooter now for, I don't know, more than like 10 years at least. I remember when the 70 was released, I was excited because it was like the first enthusiast camera that had weather sealing, so I
Mm,
immediately bought it.
yeah,
Excited about that, and I've slowly now with the new 100 to 400, I also have my telephoto lens is weather sealed and my macro lens is weather sealed. So you just feel confident when you're out there in the field that oh no
yeah.
it's starting to drizzle a little bit and now I have to put all my stuff away and freaking out and stuff. So it's a great advantage, and Olympus does a really good job of that too. I mean their bodies are weather sealed, their lenses. That new 140 to 150, like I was saying, it sounds like it's a great lens. I've
Mm,
seen plenty of pictures, and they look really impressive. And if their new 300 f4 lens is as good as that 40 to 150,
Wow.
man, that's gonna be
yeah.
awesome.
Very nice.
That's
That
gonna be
would be
So what
ridiculous.
brought
dangerous.
you? What did you do in Puerto Rico? You and David.
Aha. So yeah, let's do a little mini trip report. I think we should do
Yeah,
definitely when we
great.
go out
Yeah, I
on
want
these
to hear
trips to
everything
take
about it. I
pictures.
haven't really heard anything. Of,
Oh, that's right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Well,
never
I,
told me what you were
so
after.
so the whole
Vacation that
purpose
I
of
decided at the last minute because they
Hmm.
were going there. So
yeah, the whole purpose of this trip really was research. So I was helping out my wife, like I said before. She's doing her PhD here at Cornell, and I also do research through an organization in Puerto Rico called Proyecto Coqui, and working with frogs. So Anna's research, my wife's research, is also with frogs. So I went
Hmm.
with her to Puerto Rico as a field assistant, which of course I don't mind
Yeah.
going to Puerto Rico to work. So I took a vacation from my work here in Ithaca. I work at the Science Center. I'm an educator, science educator, and I went on to do some research with Anna, and David decided to tag along, of course, because who doesn't want to tag along to a trip to Puerto Rico? And he said, "Oh, sure, I'll help out in the field too." He's a biologist too, right? So he can help us. Did he help out that much? Maybe not, but I didn't, right? He just offered to help. We did not tell him he needed to help to come. So it was just good company, and it was a good excuse for me also to escape and go out taking pictures
Nice.
because I have to take David out to take pictures, in Puerto Rico. That's what I have to do. So
Yeah.
and we had one full. So I mean, the truth is, it was a working trip. So most of the days I was working in the field, handling with frogs, and but we did take one full day only for photography, which was pretty awesome. Why don't you
So I
talk
stayed
about that,
Great.
6 days, right?
What?
I took 6 days. Yeah, about that. Mostly I was doing the morning and a bit around the time that you were doing the experiments, and so yeah. So at the end we went about all the points of the island mostly, basically. Went a
We
bit in
went
the
to
north
the
and the
we
east.
went to the we were staying in the northeast end of the island, and our
UK,
big photo day was on the opposite side, was like the
Guanica.
southwest.
Okay. So what do you shoot there?
Well,
So
yeah, go ahead.
so actually, I think that's going there without knowing what to find, which was not the case when I was with Alberto. What you easily find are obviously birds. You have birds everywhere. Endemic birds are really easy to see to some extent, but some endemic birds. And anoles, so reptiles. You can see anole everywhere. When I say everywhere, it's really
Yeah.
just
They're really fun to watch. I like
they
those
are
guys.
extremely fun to watch.
Mm.
You can really take pictures of their behavior. They are not afraid of you, so you can really get very close, and it's very nice. I can actually share one of picture that actually you can reflects how um, I would say maybe friendly.
Hmm.
Can you see that?
I see a
Um,
black screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
little Anolis
Um,
or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Cool. They're so cute.
yeah, and so you can stay that, and you can stay for a while, and they won't really go away. So that's actually easy also to learn how to do macro photography. I think it's one of the place
Hmm.
where if you want to get out of your backyard, which I would say is the first place to learn macro photography, Puerto Rico is an easy place to go on vacation and learn how to do cool macro photography. That's
Yeah.
what I would say. And then, of course, you can also have some scenery. You have nice places for waterfalls. That was also very nice, where we went for El Yunque. And Yunque, this national forest has nice small waterfalls. And frogs. So if you are with Alberto and Anna, you see frogs all the time. So you can do frogs in the wild. You have frogs also. We did a bit of studio in the field, so which was one of the technique of Alberto. That's someday we should talk about. So yeah, all in all, I should also mention some insects. Really neat insects. Yeah, very very diverse. So I
Cool.
really recommend Puerto Rico for a few days for macro photography at all level.
And
I
just in
would say.
case, Puerto Rico is a small island in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
For our viewers
For
that do
our
not know where
American
Puerto Rico
viewers.
is,
Yeah,
it's a
and so
really
small
small
actually
island.
that we could actually be at one side, and at the end of the morning we were already at the opposite of the island and taking photography of completely different
How long
habitat.
do you fly from Ithaca or from New York?
From New York, I think it's 4 hours. You know it?
Yeah,
Oh,
about 4 hours.
Yeah,
that's close by.
and it's super cheap. I mean, compared to the gears that we pay, I think that's I did.
Everything is.
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
think I paid $350 for back and forth.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
the
pretty
thing
good.
is that something that I've learned, especially living in Puerto Rico originally and moving to Ithaca, your subjects they're actually more important than the gear that you have, because if you don't have any subjects to take pictures of, my like here in Ithaca right now, it's like 0 degrees outside, and I don't do that much photography. So I have this
Fahrenheit.
brand new lens, and it's like tucked in my case, and not being used. So, a plane, ticket to go to Puerto Rico from New York City, it is really, really cheap, and your photographic experience is going to be amazing. It's a tropical island, it's great for vacation plus everything else. So
Yeah, I want to go there. Totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
guys
should.
definitely. Yeah. David was encouraging me. Oh, you should like come up with a tour, like a photographic tour to lead in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And there's probably already like a good market for that. It must be.
Yeah.
But
There's
I
a
would
good
book the
market
tour for a special
sure
price.
in other places.
mm,
What's that?
I would book your tour for a special friendship price, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But I also think it's important to say that you said like the gear isn't the important thing. It's like the subject that you have. Which I think is totally true, like especially in macro photography, because you can really do a lot with gear that is not very expensive. Some of the best macro photographers that I know, or whose work I know on the web, they use pretty like not very expensive camera gear. They're just very knowledgeable in how they set it up and how you work with optics, and there are lots of tricks that'll help you get great shots. So I know we talk a lot about equipment, but I think technique and an eye for what you want to shoot is so much more important than having like a dump truck full of lenses. Yes, David?
Yeah, I started with this. I don't use it much anymore, but I have this 50 millimeters 1.8 that costs $100, and this that costs as much, which at the end I could even mostly use that. And then you have a great equipment for the entry camera for doing great macro photography. I think the most important in macro photography would be more the flash than the lens. And slowly, if you see that you like it, you continue.
I don't usually use flashes.
I
But
never
No,
use
but
flash.
I mean, if you want to improve even higher on your photography, before having a very expensive lens, I would really recommend the flash.
Definitely.
Before buying a super expensive setup, I would recommend to try to get out of the bed very early. Find butterflies and whatever. Get a tripod. That's probably the most important thing.
Oh yeah.
If you don't want to be fixed to shooting bumblebees in the midday sunlight, that's the first thing to do. Get a tripod and get out at the right times where the insects are cold and not moving.
Which is usually at the crack of dawn.
Or in the evening, yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should have a whole show talking about Soren's techniques to go out and do macro photography.
Definitely. And I think what's also important, like especially from our perspective here, is that you know something about the biology of the animal, so you know what animals are going to be likely to be out, how close you get, and so on, and then it really helps to have like, perspective.
That is so true. Let me pop up a quick picture. For example, this kind of butterfly. I was searching for it, and I only found it because I knew that this is the plant where it puts its eggs on. So I found a lot of these plants, and then I screened basically thousands of these plants to find the butterfly. I mean, it's not a super rare butterfly, but if you are out at 5 a.m. in the morning, nothing is moving, your eye is not trained to that, finding non-moving white butterflies on white flowers. But if you know that this is their favorite plant, and there are thousands of these plants, then you just screen them, and there they were. So knowing biology definitely helps for shooting insects or animals in general.
Yeah, we should actually dedicate a show where we talk about this, how to actually plan a macro session. Plan a trip, but a trip in your backyard, basically, or around it.
Right.
What time of the day?
Yeah. I mean, in our case here, right? Like when I lived in Puerto Rico, I would go out to forest reserves and things like that.
Yeah.
When we would go out with Soren to do macro photography, we would go to the golf course,
Mhm.
but
Right.
it
I've
ended
been
up
there.
being an awesome place.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just had to hide for all the moving balls, but we found the dragonflies we were searching for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
took these guys out early in the morning, and I think we had a good time. And there was even salamander migration on this golf course, which was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all around us. You just have to know where to find it.
All right.
All right.
Okay,
I think on that note,
On that
shall
good
we
note,
close out?
yeah. So yeah, that was great. We'll work out some of these ideas right now. So this was the first episode of this little experiment that we started, and if you're someone who actually watched it or listened to it, then please let us know in the comments or on the email that I'll post if you have suggestions, if you have anything to say about it, and all the things that we said wrong, and just yell at us.
Yeah,
All the
I'm sure
mistakes we
we'll
might
get
have
plenty of
made when
those.
describing all this gear and so on. Yeah, and we'll try to figure out some interesting topics for the next few shows, like how to find animals, how to get a really cheap macro setup, and so on.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys, and we'll
Thank you,
see
guys.
you next time.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.